First of all, hello. I made the first 10 videos to confirm the 24 criteria of the Milos Conference which define a valid thesis on Atlantis. I advise you to see them before because we will quickly pass on some of their statements. They allow me to support a possible location of Atlantis in Andalusia and west of southern Europe and North Africa. To be able to go further, I had to specify the exact location of the city of Atlantis. Today I can suggest exactly where the Atlantine capital was. To date, I have not seen the publication of an equivalent thesis. The city is still buried. This thesis is therefore unpublished to date. Above all, I would like to say that my only motivation is a passion for history. Through it, I do not defend any regional, ethnic, moral, political or other thesis. I will present the few principles that have guided my work. First, I considered the writings of the ancient authors to be truthful as a whole. Despite this, they all have their hesitations and even their contradictions without forgetting the translation or copy differences. However, they wrote their truths in good faith. The best text is often the most shared by authors from different eras. Secondly, it is difficult to examine and locate such an old site and be as distant as I am. So I had to work without being able to validate my theses in the field. To compensate for this, I used Google Earth. Third, it was equally difficult to find compelling evidence. The clue beam technique allowed me to validate a hypothesis without having factual proof of it. It suffices to accumulate clues and to extract the thesis which they support. Finally, to finish, I was faced with the problem of changing the environment over time. The geography around the city must not be the same as at the time, especially in an alluvial context of river mouth. I considered that the geography metamorphoses, leaving usable traces of the past configuration. In addition, the recent research results carried out by professional or amateur researchers have also been of great support. Again, thank you to them and to all the researchers who preceded my approach. The first researchers did not have his results, which is also to be thanked. I make a simple wish. I would like the archaeologists who excavate this site to have the delicacy to share the discovery with me. Sorry, it was a bit long as an introduction, but now it's time to present my research. I'll start with locating the Columns of Hercules. It is a banal subject a priori, but which conditions the rest. Many theses ignore or distort it. These columns are today in the Strait of Gibraltar. In the past, the columns were symbolized by the rocks of Calpe and Atalaya. The synthesis of the ancient texts is as follows. Homer speaks of the columns of Atlas. Plato indicates that the city of Atlantis is located opposite or just after the Columns of Hercules. Pindar confirms this to Strabo. Diodorus of Sicily talks about the construction of the columns in Cadiz. Later in his text, he casts doubt on the Strait of Gibraltar and lets us choose. If you wish, you can read the text references while pausing on the video. In antiquity, there were therefore other columns of Hercules mentioned in ancient texts. These ancient texts say, the Temple of Hercules existed with its 2 columns 4 meters high on the island of Sancti Petri in Cadiz. The city of Atlantis was located on an island just after the columns of the Temple of Hercules in the land of Tartessos. Foreign sailors often stopped there to make offerings. I use the Athenian measures used by the Greeks and by the Romans like Plato, Strabo and Pliny. These measures were defined by the work of Donald Engels. The stadium measured 185 meters, the plasterum 30 meters and the foot 30 centimeters. With these equivalences, the city is 138.75 kilometers from the Rock of Gibraltar. The islet of Sancti Petri is an ancient fort at present, but the site was excavated to confirm the presence of a temple dedicated to Hercules. On this reconstruction of the temple we can see the 2 columns of Hercules of 4 meters made of precious metals shining in the sun. They could be seen from afar at sea, serving as a landmark for sailors. This statue of Hercules, called Melkart by the Phoenicians, was found near the Temple of Sancti Petri. It is on display at the Cadiz Museum. This ancient anchor was found at sea with others right next to the Temple of Hercules at Sancti Petri. It demonstrates the truth of ancient texts which say that the sailors of antiquity stopped there to make offerings. So now we know where the real columns of Hercules are. The synthesis of the ancient texts is as follows. The city is located on an island just after the columns of Hercules. Atlantis, the capital of King Atlas, is part of Atlantis, the country of the Atlantines. This region is also called Tartessos, the same name as the river that surrounds the city between two arms. This river is currently the Guadalquivir. The island is 138.75 kilometers from the rock of the Strait of Gibraltar. We now know where on the coast the island is located from ancient texts. Here, we will now see the theories of previous researchers of the location of Tartessos or Atlantis. In 1, Shelton's theory at the Cerro del Trigo in the Banana Park. In 2, the theories of Kun and Freund also in the Park of Banana. In 3, the theories of Man and Chocomeli on the Mesa de Asta. In 4, the theories of Seria and Panabazurdo in Jerez de la Frontera. In 5, Heck's theory to Dona Blanca. In 6, the theories of Gracia and Bellido on the island of San Fernando. In 7, the theories of Colina Gerard and Diaz Matasheno to Spartal. In 8, the theory of Luzon and Huelva. In 9, Watron's theory in Seville. It should be noted that they all placed Tartessos or Atlantis around the area that we have defined. To be so focused, they didn't go wrong, but none have found it yet. According to other ancient texts, the city is located between the two arms of the Guadalquivir River. But today there is only one arm. Could there have been an old missing arm from the Guadalquivir? This image traces the Guadalajara Canal attested around -750 BC by Eugenio Vegagine and Antonio Garcia Romero. Strabo confirms the hypothesis. Immediately after the Labrija estuary, we find the double mouth of the Guadalquivir. A lake existed before the current marshes. Today the remains of the missing arm of the river are irrigation canals. These canals are Cano de Jerez, Arroyo de Tabajat and Arroyo de la Loba. These canals are at the location of the east arm of the Guadalquivir. The Guadalquivir could therefore have at least two arms at its mouth. And the Guadalete could throw itself into this missing arm of the Guadalquivir. We can see the beginning of an island between the two arms west and east of the Guadalquivir. Plato positions the city in the center of the island and gives it an oblong shape. Strabo dimensions it about 20 kilometers wide on the edge of the coast. This corresponds to this area. Atlantis must therefore be here in the center. In the next video we will see the reconstruction of the coast, the islands and the nearby continent. Thank you for your attention. See you soon.